annoys me how everybody groups the Trayvon Martin shooting and the Mike Brown shooting with Eric Garner's death and Walter Scott's death just because they're black, because they're all different stories in different cases. However, with all that being said, I do agree with the left that police accountability is a huge issue that needs to be addressed, and I do agree with the left that, at least to some degree, black people have a harder time dealing with police than white people, absolutely. Why black people have a harder time dealing with police, I might not agree with the left on. I mean, there's lots of factors that could be in play besides racism. Black people do commit more crime than whites, so there can be a profiling thing. If somebody's more likely to commit crime, then of course you're going to be more on guard, and you're going to be more suspicious of them, absolutely. Or maybe it's because more black people are poor, and the police are harder on poorer people, because they view them as easier targets. You know, I don't really know what's going through the mind of police officers. I don't really care, because it really has nothing to do with the issue at large, which is what I'm going to get to in a second. But really just all this race baiting and saying, oh, it's all because of racism, and fuck whitey, they all hate black people, and white people really need to deal with their racism. It really doesn't solve the problem. It really doesn't address the issue, and that's really the main point that I want to make in this video. Complaining about racism and complaining about how black people have it so much harder compared to whites. You might be right. You're probably right that black people have it harder compared to whites, but complaining about it on Twitter and whining about racism, whining about institutional racism, whining about how there's all these white people that hate blacks, whether it's true or not, that's not going to solve it. Absolutely nothing. It's going to get some media attention, sure. It's going to get some shares on Twitter and Tumblr or whatever. President Obama is probably going to pay some lip service and say that it's awful and that Walter Scott was a great young man, or actually he was an older man, but Walter Scott was a great black person, and this shouldn't have happened to him, and then he'll say some bullshit about how the government's going to take care of it, but it's really going to take care of nothing, because this type of shit happens all the time, all over the United States, to people who are black and people who are white. And so racism really isn't the problem. It's like all of these SJWs talking about rape and saying, oh, we have rape culture, and it's so bad because everybody condones rape, and, you know, we shouldn't have to argue about how to prevent rape. Rape just shouldn't exist. People shouldn't be raped. Well, you know, I agree with feminists on that point. Rape is bad, people shouldn't be raped. But we don't have a rape culture the same way that I don't believe that we have a racist culture. I don't believe that the vast majority of white people are racist, and I don't believe that the vast majority of people condone rape. If you just look at the media, if you look at just what people are saying on social media or just in your everyday lives, I have encountered very, very few people who have condoned rape, and I have encountered very, very few people who talk about how much they hate black people. Again, your experiences might be different, or you might just be an overreacting leftist who interprets everything as a rape threat or interprets everything as racism. I'm guessing it's the latter, but who knows? Maybe there are pockets of the U.S. that are incredibly racist and I'm just unaware of it. Who knows? But even if there are a ton of racist white people somewhere who I'm just not aware of, complaining about them existing isn't going to solve this problem, because racism is not the root cause of this problem. If it was, then it would just be black people getting fucked over by the police. It would just be black people getting shot for no reason. It would just be black people being arrested for bullshit things and black people receiving citations for bullshit things. But that's not the case at all. All of these laws, all of this bureaucracy, all of this big government affects everybody. It affects whites, it affects blacks, it affects Asians. It doesn't matter who you are. And so logically, that really is the root of the problem. The root of the problem isn't race. This doesn't just affect black people. The root of the problem is big government. It's all of this bureaucracy. It's this huge, inefficient system that everybody relies on. It's really all of these millions and millions and millions of people who rely on government for their job. I mean, really, a hugely significant amount of people rely on government for their job in some way. Whether they directly work for the government, whether they work for companies or contractors that have contracts with the government or get government subsidies, whether they are lawyers, work within the court system, whether they are social workers, whether they're guardian ad litems, CPA workers, judges, or they're police officers or clerks or whatever. All of these people who are part of this system are part of the problem. And people don't like to hear this because most of the people that you know are part of this system. They have some sort of job, they make some sort of living that relies on this government force in order to generate revenue. And I'm not saying that everybody who's involved in this is a bad person. I mean, I think that it's kind of stupid to label people as good people or bad people, because everybody just wants to live the best life possible. Everybody just wants to have the most power and the most money and the most time to do the things that they want to do that make them happy. But the thing is, a lot of people just erroneously think, or not even erroneously think, because a lot of the time working for the government or taking a job that helps feed this beast of government, it's really the best thing you can do to make the most money. So I don't even fault people for being a part of it. But I just want to point point out the hypocrisy. If you support big government, if you support government collecting all this revenue to fund all of these social programs, to fund this gigantic court system that gets into everybody's lives, that cites people for bullshit things, that arrests people for bullshit things, that imprisons people for bullshit things, if you're profiting from that, and then you turn around and say, oh my gosh, the Walter Scott killing was so bad, oh, the Eric Garner killing was so bad, then you're being hypocritical and you have some serious cognitive dissonance going on. Because if government was not so big, if government was not so ingrained in all of these different sectors of the economy, if government did not have this gigantic bureaucracy that everybody has to go through, if there weren't so many people who profited from government giving citations and arresting people and grinding people through the court system and throwing people in prison, if there wasn't any incentive for all of that, then there wouldn't be incentive for police officers to be so aggressive with people and to fuck people over for no reason. You can even watch this one video that somebody filmed from Cop Block. I know Cop Block doesn't have the best reputation for whatever reason. I think Cop Block is great. I mean, occasionally they'll post something that I don't think they should really post, and I think it's a bit of an overreaction. But even if you don't agree with everything they post, they still bring to light a ton of police accountability issues, a ton of stories where police abuse their power, where police are beating the shit out of people, where they're killing people, while they're arresting people for bullshit things. It's happening all the time, and this is really an issue that affects everybody, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so vocal about it, and why I care so much about it, and why I talk so much about it, because I feel if more people actually understood the inner mechanisms of this, if people understood this really big government that is causing this, and it's really all this bureaucracy and reliance on government that is causing this, then I think more people would be libertarian, and they'd look into liberty candidates, or libertarian-leaning conservative candidates, and they'd vote for smaller government, and they'd vote for people to be less dependent on government, and to support themselves, and then the state wouldn't need revenue, and then this shit wouldn't happen. I guess it just really frustrates me. I know I'm rambling a little bit, but it just frustrates me how people are so outraged about this, but they just don't care about solutions. I was on Twitter for a while last night, and I wrote a bunch of tweets about Walter Scott, and I was tweeting about how big government is the problem, and how we need to get government out of people's lives, and we need to stop all of these gigantic government initiatives, which require all this money, and require all of these bodies to be put in prisons, and be put through the legal system in order to make a profit. And I just got a ton of angry tweets in response, and there's all these people saying, oh, you're part of the problem. If you don't think that race matters, you're part of the problem. Oh, you're a conservative. You just want people to vote. This is that Democrats are bad, and you're part of the problem. You don't care about black people. And it's like, I'm fucking on your side. I'm trying to tell you why this shit is happening and how you can be proactive about solving it. But nobody wants to listen. They just want to complain about race. They want to complain about black people being fucked over. And I get it. I get that that's a problem. I get that black people are being fucked over. But that's not the solution to the problem. This is what the media wants. This is what people in power want. They want people to complain about race. They want people to complain about black people being victims, because it keeps people divided. It keeps conservatives divided from Democrats. It keeps liberals divided from libertarians. Because I've said in a lot of my videos, I agree with other groups on certain things. I agree with the left on a lot of things. I agree with, hardcore Republicans on a lot of things, but I also disagree with those groups on a lot of things. And it just sucks that because I disagree with hardcore Republicans on a few things, or because I disagree with the left on a few things, they automatically dismiss everything that I have to say, and they view me as just this retarded person who doesn't know what he's talking about, and they just don't really want to think outside of their little box, and it really frustrates me, because until you think beyond those, political talking points that you keep repeating over and over again, you're really not going to find any solution. The two-party system has been arguing forever and ever and ever that no, our side is correct, no, our side is correct, and they just completely hate the other side, and I just hate it too, because there's all of these Republican pages that I follow on Facebook, and they do post some good stuff about economics and everything, but they criticize Democrats all the time for just the most petty shit. I cannot tell you how many Facebook posts I've seen about, like, Michelle Obama's outfits. Like, who the fuck cares? Like, they're like, oh, Michelle Obama wore shorts to this event. Like, is wearing shorts really appropriate for a first lady? Like, would Laura Bush have done that? Like, I don't give a fuck. Michelle Obama can wear whatever the fuck she wants. Is that really what you're gonna complain about? If you're really gonna have a conservative page criticizing the left, criticizing these leftist policies that are destroying this country, are you really going to waste posts talking about what Michelle Obama is wearing, or Michelle Obama doing some dance on the Ellen Show, or Michelle Obama doing a vine with a turnip? Like, who the fuck cares? Like, if that was the worst thing that the left was doing, making fucking vines, like, then who would care? Like, that doesn't affect anybody, but the left's the supporting big government, supporting all this bureaucracy, supporting all of these things that require all of this revenue generation, supporting all of these laws that are being used to fuck people over, those are things worth complaining about, and people just see the Republicans saying, oh, Michelle Obama sucks, she looks like a man, she looks like a monkey. Like, yeah, that's not gonna make Republicans look very good to the left, and leftists are gonna be turned off by that, and they're not gonna value anything that you have to say. And with the left, it's the exact same thing. When you say that, oh, you know, people can be transgender, or transracial, you know, I'm cisgender, I'm comfortable in my skin gender, you know, it's fucking lunacy. When people say, oh, you know, we need to allow boys into the girls' locker rooms who feel like they're girls on the inside, we need to allow girls into the boys' locker rooms who feel like they're boys on the inside, you know, when you say ridiculous shit like that, then you're gonna lose a lot of conservatives. And it is just like, if you could just talk about the facts, if you could just talk about the things that are wrong and logically think out the solutions to them and just stick to that, then I think there would be a lot more people coming together on issues and people actually figuring out solutions to issues. So when you complain about race, when you complain about, oh, black people get so fucked over, and you completely ignore all the white people who get fucked over by the police, if you ignore all of the other implications behind this lack of police accountability and this police aggression, and you just blame it all on race, then yeah, you're gonna lose a lot of conservatives, and you're gonna get a lot of conservatives saying, oh, there's these black people defending Michael Brown, even though he attacked the police officer, they just care about him because he's black, and they don't really care about police accountability, which is true. They care about Mike Brown, which I feel is a justified shooting. I mean, if you're gonna attack a police officer, expect to be shot. I don't care if he's black, I don't care if he's white, like, I mean, that's just something you shouldn't do if you want to live. And even if for some reason the Mike Brown shooting wasn't justified, that's a terrible case to make a hashtag out of. There are so many other cases of black people unjustifiably shot and killed that they could have made a hashtag out of, but they choose fucking Mike Brown. It creates this huge Ferguson thing, and then of course it creates all these riots that they can complain about on Fox News and on, you know, CNN and all the other stations as well, other than MSNBC, and then that just makes the cause look worse. And so then the fact that you're hashtagging that, coupled with the fact that you're completely ignoring cases like Kelly Thomas, or Dylan Taylor, or Tommy McLean, when you ignore all these cases of the exact same thing happening to white people, and then you defend these cases where the shooting of black people really was justified, then yeah, you're completely making about race, and you only care about these people because they're black, and you're going to lose a lot of white people, you're going to lose a lot of conservatives over that. And the cognitive dissonance just really astounds me. It really, really does. And it goes so deep, too. I mean, it's not just police officers. Yeah, there's the video on Cop Block of the police officer saying that he has quotas to fill, and he just makes shit up about people committing crimes they didn't really commit. And yeah, that's terrible, and apparently he gets paid 6 figures for doing that, and yeah, that's kind of direct theft, I guess, just making up crimes that people committed so that you can collect revenue for them being arrested. And yes, of course, police officers are directly profiting from that, but there's so many other people working in government who are directly profiting from that as well. Mainly all of these people who are involved in the court system, and that's really the root of the problem. There are so many people in this country whose employment depends on people being put through the court system that police brutality is the inevitable result. Think of all the people who are judges, who are lawyers, who are social workers, who are guardian ad litems, who are CPS workers, who are psychologists and psychiatrists who work with troubled kids that are taken through CPS from families, a lot of the time completely unjustifiably. I mean, CPS, oh my god, I think CPS is one of the worst problems in this country. I think they hurt way more children than they help. I mean, if a CPS worker comes to your house and you have, you know, an empty beer bottle, they'll say, oh, the parent's an alcoholic, or if you have, you know, some plates from lunch that haven't been washed in the sink yet, then oh, it's a kitchen of dirty dishes. Like, they'll take any little thing and they'll make it sound as bad as possible. Not that having a messy house is even a reason for kids to not live with their parents. I mean, there's tons of houses all over America that are messy, but of course the government picks and chooses and people just turn a blind eye to it. That's one of the reasons why I don't give a fuck about, you know, marijuana legalization. I mean, if CPS is gonna get on people's ass for drinking alcohol, even though it's legal, like, do you really think they're not gonna get on parents' asses for smoking weed, even if it's legal in, you know, Colorado or Alaska or whatever? No. I mean, they'll still take kids away for parents who smoke pot. And of course, the application of those standards are completely unjustified as well. Do you really think they're going to take away, you know, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie's kids because Brad Pitt smokes pot every once in a while? No, of course not. You know, if you're really wealthy, if you have those connections, you can do anything you want. But if, you know, if you're a poor white person who smokes pot, or if you're a poor black person who smokes pot, then you're a bad parent. And it just frustrates me how there are all of these status people, all of these people on the left, and a lot of people who claim to be on the right as well, who are okay with all of this CPS bullshit, who are okay with all of these laws that are being put in place, all of these laws that allow people to be arrested for pretty much any reason. People who are okay with all of this policing in general, they just want it to happen equally to white people. That's the most insulting thing that I see in all of these posts that the left makes. It's that, oh, I don't really care about police doing this shit, I just don't think it should happen to black people more than white people. I don't give a fuck if it happens to black people disproportionately. I don't care if this shit happens to black people more than white people. The fact that it exists at all is bad. And when you make it about race, when you say, oh, well, it happens to more black people than white people, it's a race problem, like, you're not really solving the problem, and it means you don't really care about the root of the problem, which is big government. And it just really frustrates me to try to deal with these people on Twitter, on YouTube, in real life, because you know what, I'm fucking on your side. I don't like that Walter Scott was killed. I don't like that Eric Garner was killed. I don't like that any of these people were killed when it wasn't justified. I don't trust the police. I know for a fact that the police are constantly fabricating things, covering their fucking asses. I agree with you that the only reason why a lot of this is even coming to light now is because everyone has a smartphone now and everybody is filming it. But when I try to offer solutions to the problem, when I try to be proactive and tell people how they can be proactive about it, when I tell people the problem is big government, the problem is bureaucracy, the problem is so many millions of people in this country relying on bureaucracy and the court system for their income, for their living, when I tell people this, when I tell people one of the most proactive things they can do is support libertarian causes, to look into libertarian candidates at the local and state level, look at Republican candidates who are libertarian-leaning at the local and state level, when I tell people that this is really the most proactive thing they can do, they get really mad at me and call me racist and say that I don't care about black people and that I'm an awful person for making this political and using this as an opportunity to bash Democrats. And it's just frustrating. It's like I'm giving a big fucking box of help and you just throw it out and yell at me. Like, I don't know what to do at this point. Like how do I get through to these people? Like, I feel this is an issue that people care about, obviously. I feel this is a huge problem, but nobody's fucking taking steps to get to the solution, to find a way to actually fix this problem. And you know what? This is what the media wants. This is what the government wants. This is what people in power want. They want you to make this about race. They want people to be divided over this. They don't want people to come together and say, oh wait, it's government that's the problem, it's bureaucracy that's the problem, it's all these laws that are the problem. They don't want people to come to that solution. And so the reason why this gets so much media coverage is because as long as it's about race, as long as it's about black people being the victim, then it's fine. Then it's part of the narrative that black people are victims and whitey is the oppressor and all these white people are racist and we have white guilt and we need to check our privilege. That's part